Hello everyone, I'm Lilybeth Baez. Joining me tonight is Drake Vliem, a West Texas man who not only competed in the season of the Netflix The Survival show Outlast, but has returned home as one of the 2 winners, outlasting 14 other competitors from across the country. Drake, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, congratulations on your big win. Drake, you have to tell us, you went from the extreme West Texas heat to the crazy temperatures of the Alaskan wilderness. What in the world were you thinking? Why did you get involved?
I really just wanted to test myself and see what I was really capable of in the outdoors and see how far I could really go with it. And I got chosen and it paid off.
What was that process like? Can you tell us more about that?
So the process of like getting on the show?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I just sent in an application, and I think they said that there was 18,000 people that applied for it or something, but it was essentially like a really vigorous hiring process. So I had to send in multiple videos of me doing outdoor stuff, building shelters, making fires, stuff like that. And in order to prove that I had the skills to go out there. I mean, if you don't have the skills to go out there and do it, you no longer become an asset, you become a liability. So all of us had to prove that we had the skills to be there.
Can you talk about those skills that it took to be in there? I mean, I'm sure you didn't go in there blindsided, right? You went in there with a sort of strategy, and tell us more about those skills.
So really my strategy was just to kind of stick to myself and play a fair game. If you watch season 1, they didn't play a fair game real well. So my whole goal was just to be fair, stick to my guns, stick to my honor, my integrity. But, and skill-wise, I always tell everybody actual survival is only 30% skill and 70% mental capacity. So if you can keep your mind right, make wise decisions, don't do anything rational, don't get in freezing water, most of the time you're going to come out successful.
Definitely. Well, of course, we can't go without mentioning your teammate, Drew, who you split the $500,000 reward with during the show. Drew was the captain, and he chose you over a couple of other people. Why do you think he chose you to be on his team?
I think he chose me just because of the fact that we were both from Texas. And we were the only 2 guys from Texas, and Texas is a very proud state, and we want to stick together, and I'm glad that he chose me.
We saw a bromance kind of unfold.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that bond that you formed with Drew.
So Drew and I bonded right off the bat. I mean, maybe 30 minutes after introducing ourselves to each other, we realized we both have the same personality, we both have the same kind of humor, and it really just skyrocketed it. And I think that's what brought us to the end, is the fact that we both got to kind of be our best hype man for each other. Build each other up every day. Every morning we woke up and we cracked jokes at each other and stuff to kind of break the ice, when you're sleeping in below freezing degrees all night, shivering all night. As soon as that sun comes up, you kind of, I don't know, you want to do something to get the morale up. And so that's what we did. Every morning we would crack jokes at each other and kind of give each other a hard time, and we loved it.
We saw you make jokes, we saw you quote movies, we saw you quote shows. Do you think the Big Spring did you justice as to your personality? Did we get to see your personality on screen?
You did, and I'm really glad that the show showed that I'm a big guy. I have a very large stature and I carry myself pretty well, but I'm just goofy at heart, and that's me. That's who I am. I'm usually the guy who makes the worst joke at the worst time, but I mean, it's just who I am.
Do you think your lightheartedness is what got you to the end?
I think my lightheartedness and Drew's lightheartedness is kind of what let us bounce off of each other so well. We both enjoy the same kind of movies. We both quoted movies the whole time we were out there, and that's kind of what we based our whole thing off of, is besides telling ourselves, hey, like, we're blessed to be here. We were chosen. Out of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, we were chosen to be here. This is our destiny for us to meet, become best friends, and do it together.
Do you still talk to him now?
I do. I was just talking to him before I came up here and told him, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna be on my local news channel today. I'm super pumped. I'm nervous too, but.
It sounds like this is a lifelong kind of relationship that you've formed with him.
For sure. My family has yet to meet him, but we are planning a trip to go to Austin and meet Drew and his family, and my kids are stoked to meet him. You know, he knows all my kids already. We FaceTime regularly. He probably knew more about my kids than he wanted to while we were out there. So.
And talking about that, you talked a lot about your wife and your kids and West Texas. What kept you going while you were out there?
So my wife kind of told me before I left, she was like, look, just go out there and do your very best. Don't be one of those people that's crying on camera, you know, saying, oh, I miss my wife, I miss my wife. My wife is a godsend for me. You know, she really held it down all by herself here while I was in Alaska and I told her, I said, when I leave, I don't know when I'm going to come home. And I could come home in 10 days, I could come home in 6 months. And she was okay with it. And she was more than supportive and told me, like, you go out there and you do your best and you show them what you're made of. And so it just meant the world to me. And every time I kind of got down in my head and I started getting sad, like, oh, I miss my family, I was like, have I given it my best? Have I really given it everything I have? Because if I go home and tell my wife I didn't win, but I don't feel like I was done either, I think I would have let her down.
And talking about that, I'm sure there were some times when it was hard on your mental health, right? Just getting down on, was there ever a moment when you thought to yourself, am I in over my head? A moment where you thought this is a little too challenging?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, you're out there starving and you're dehydrated and you can't sleep because you're freezing at night. So there was many times where Drew and I would kind of really lean on each other mentally, saying like, oh, I would get teary-eyed at night and start complaining to Drew like, oh, I miss my wife and kids so much. Like, what am I doing here? This is not what I'm supposed to do. And Drew would bring me out of that dark place. And I would do the same for him when he had those moments as well.
And while you were out there, I mean, we're talking about freezing temperatures, limited food options, and no clean water. What did your diet consist of? People are wondering. We saw you on screen eat a squirrel.
Yeah, we ate many squirrels, bones and all. We ate the bones, we ate all the organs, the brains, the eyeballs, trying to just get as much nutrients as possible. But I would say our main source of food would have been seaweed and crabs. You know, we would catch little flip over rocks and catch crabs almost daily. We would catch handfuls of crabs and boil them, and that was our main staple as we were out there.
So tell me about that routine. Did you know at what time you woke up? Was there any sort of sense of time? What was that like on a day-to-day basis?
So we didn't have a sense of time. I mean, you can kind of guesstimate the time by looking at the sky and kind of seeing where the sun is. Most of the days it was cloudy and raining, so you couldn't really see exactly where it was, but you could get the gist of it, of what time it was. Most mornings we were all up before the sun, and we were trying to make our way out of our shelter in the dark. And every day we were out there, we lost 5 minutes of sunlight. So in 32 days, the first day we were there was an hour and 20 minutes longer than the last day that we were there.
Wow. What kind of changes did your body and your mind endure, from physical to mental, while you were out there?
So my body, it took a hit weight-wise. I mean, I lost 52 pounds in 32 days. But mentally, I would like to say I came home a far stronger human than I went out there. You know, I really realized, like, wow, like, I'm capable of a lot more than I thought I was.
And let's talk about that. I mean, expand on that. You were saying that it takes 30% skill, 70% mental. What else did you learn about yourself when you came back home?
I really learned I learned how to be a better version of myself. And I think it's really reflecting to my family right now. You know, my kids have seen I'm more involved. I'm not really chasing the dollar so much in the oil field. I'm taking more time off of work, spending more time at home with my wife and kids. And I think it's really paid off in the sense of parenthood and me being a better husband.
Absolutely. And you're talking about, you just mentioned your work. You're an oil field technician, right?
Yep.
Tell us more about that. I saw a post where you immediately went back to work when you got back home.
I did.
How long did it take for you to get back to work?
I was out of work for a few months. I ended up I had to quit my job to go out to Alaska, just because, like I said, I didn't know how long I was going to be out there. So when I came back, I found a different job, and I went back to work fairly quick. Really didn't skip a beat. My body was still healthy. A lot of other people that played the game with me, they had to take many weeks of, IVs and feeding programs to get their body back to normal. But my body held up really well, and I never skipped a beat. Went right back to work and remembered everything that I was doing and keep doing it.
How long did it take for you to get back into that routine?
So weirdly, my work routine was easier than the woods routine. I get more sleep now. We were getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night out in the woods. So when I got to come home and I laid in my bed for the first time, I slept for like 16 hours. And then every day since then, my body wakes up every 3 or 4 hours periodically. So my work routine actually turned out to be easier than my survival routine. So it all worked out perfect.
How about in terms of food? What were you most happy to eat when you got back?
So the last couple weeks I was in the woods, I was having dreams of my wife's homemade chicken and dumplings. And that's all, when you're starving, that's all you talk about. And that's all we talked about on the whole team was just like, oh, when I get home, I'm going to eat this, this, and this. And for the last couple weeks I was there, that's just really all I thought about was my wife's homemade chicken and dumplings. So when I was on my flights on my way back to Midland, I called my wife. I was like, I'll be home at this time. My plane lands at this time. Of course, I need a ride home from the airport, so come pick me up. But so her and my mother-in-law actually had a whole feast ready for me when I got home. Had chicken and dumplings and peach pie and apple pie and cookies and garlic bread, and I ate until I got sick.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you're talking about you lost 52 pounds. Hopefully you made that all up during that night with that feast.
I tried to, for sure. I've only put on maybe, I think right now I'm like 265. So I've put on maybe 15 pounds since I came home.
Absolutely. What is the reaction from your wife and your family seeing you back now, and especially with all of the feedback that you're getting?
They're more than happy for me. They're proud of me, and like that's something that I really weighed heavy on my mind the whole time I was out there. I was like, I got a lot of people back home to make proud. I have a lot of people that are counting on me to do something with this and make it happen. And so me being able to tell them like, hey, like I mean, I had to keep it a secret for quite a while. My wife knew. She was the only person that really knew of the outcome of the show, but I had to keep it a secret from the rest of my family. And it was a tough deal to keep from everybody that I love most,
That's tough, keeping a secret from everybody else, but I mean, I'm glad you could trust in your wife to hold that secret.
Yeah,
it'd be hard to tell the kids.
Yeah, we did not tell the kids because kids talk, they all go to school, and
absolutely.
So
everybody would have found out by then, especially living here in Midland. We all know each other.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Speaking about Midland, how much pride do you take in being from Midland and West Texas and representing us here?
A lot, really. I was just really excited, to be able to bring the win home back to Texas. And, Drew is from Texas as well. So it kind of put us on the survival map of, we're not just some people that live out here in the desert and just work in the oil field. We're capable of far more than what everyone puts on our plates. And I think that really set us apart from everybody else too. It's like, there's a saying, the old saying, you don't mess with Texas. There's a reason.
You really took that to heart.
Yep.
Now, before the final walk to the finish line, you and Drew were walking and navigating through the forest. You light the signal, and while you are there, you're trying to make sure you're covering the fire and protecting it.
Yep.
What was the first thought that came to your head when you see that smoke reach the top?
It was just a flush of emotions that I couldn't control. I went almost the whole time out there without shedding a tear, without getting sad. And as soon as I saw that red smoke coming out of the top of our flare, it was just like, okay, time to release everything all at once. And Drew and I, we were crying and we were screaming at each other. And it was just, you know, a sense of pride, but also a sense of relief too. You know, like, oh man, I get to go home, and I get to go home a winner.
Absolutely. And I think we saw your personality like we were talking about. You said, I got that dog in me.
Hey, we got that dog in us.
That's incredible. Now, another thing that I want to talk to you about is now that you have won $500,000, people are wondering, what are you going to do with that money? You went back to work and you're still continuing to work. What's with that?
I mean, really, in all actuality, $500,000 is not enough money to retire. I'm 30 years old. It's not going to provide me for the rest of my life. So I'm going to use it to pay off all my debt, pay off my house, and try to buy a new motorcycle. And the rest, I'm going to set up funds for my kids. I'm going to set up some trust funds for them. So hopefully by the time that they're adults and they're wise enough with money, they'll be able to have some money to either do whatever they want with. You know, they can go to trade school, they can go to college, whatever they want to do.
And you mentioned you are 30 years old. What does the future hold for you now as a winner of a title, something that not just anyone can claim?
I would really like to keep doing TV. You know, I've been applying to go on other TV shows, and that would be awesome to just keep running with the whole TV thing. And I'm going to try to brand myself and start a company, you know, based on the outdoors, and try to get some kids out in the woods and teach them some survival skills. And hopefully that'll provide me with enough funds to make it until my retirement.
Absolutely. We watched you on that big swing for so long. Was there a favorite moment of yours that we didn't get to see?
No, actually my favorite moment was probably piggybacking Drew across that river. And it really gave me a sense of like, hey, like, you can do this. You have a lot left in the tank. And I said on the show, you know, nothing left in the tank. We gotta move so fast that by the time we get here, we should be completely exhausted. And when I carried Drew across that river, I was like, hey, that tapped into a whole different level of energy that I could bring. And I brought it.
Congratulations on your big win, and thank you so much for representing West Texans. To anybody who is out there watching, any child who has any doubt in their mind as to what they can do with their future, what message would you have for them?
I would say don't ever cut yourself short. And if you see a star and you want it, reach for it. There's nothing holding you back, especially in the outdoors. You know, anybody can go out there and learn and practice. You don't have to be out there for a month to learn. You can just take, you know, short weekend trips, or even just a couple hours, go out and walk through the woods and see how it makes you feel. I guarantee you it's going to bring a sense of relief to you.
Had you been in Alaska before?
I had not. I had only been on a plane once before in my life, before I flew to Alaska. And so when I got there, the scenery was just overwhelming. And, you know, there's mountains everywhere. We're in West Texas. You can't see a mountain for 100 miles in any direction. So I spent the first couple days there just really just looking at the mountains and taking in the scenery. And it just really followed along with the whole, you know, I'm blessed. I get to be here. I get to be one of these people that are out here, whether we're struggling, starving, thirsty, lack of sleep. That was always a go-to for me when I felt bad, was just to go out to the beach, look at the mountains, breathe the freshest air in the world, and it really breathes some life back into you.
Would you ever go back to Alaska just to visit?
So I've been asked that quite a few times, and whenever I first got out of the woods, I was asked that question, would you go back? And I was like, no, I would not. I've already done it. I've been there, done that. Now I've had some time back at home with my family, and I'm getting an itch to go back and do it again. And if I get the chance to do something else similar, I'm going to take it.
Are you happy to be back home in Midland? And what is your message to the city of Midland and just West Texas in general?
I am extremely happy to be home and to be in a place that I'm comfortable in, where all my family is, where all my friends are. And my message to Midland and West Texas would probably be, you can survive the cold.
Thank you so much, Drake, for being here, and congratulations on your big win. I want to give you the opportunity to mention anything that we might have not asked, anything that you want to tell anybody out there watching today.
I would like to say, like, really, if you haven't watched the show, go ahead and watch it, and you'll get kind of a gist of what we all experienced out there. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for being here.